all things refrigerator wise, because at the beginning of the pandemic, my refrigerator at home, wasn't working, and like everything was melting and warming up and stuff. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? Like, I called PC Richards. They wouldn't even deliver a refrigerator into your apartment. They would like leave it at the side of the road. And I had no idea what we were gonna do. And then I actually found out that the doorway into my kitchen is smaller than the refrigerator. So if I want to replace my refrigerator, I have to rip out my door frame. And thankfully, after cleaning out the back side of it, it started working again. But I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was either gonna have to have a refrigerator in like my living room somehow, and I was gonna have to carry it or get it into my apartment on my own. It was a complete mess. So I know like this stuff stinks, but maybe take comfort in the fact that you're having other people do this for you. And you're not going to have to rip down any walls or anything, hopefully. Hello, Miguel. I didn't want a refrigerator in my living room. I didn't. I would be so mad every time I looked at it. I care a lot about aesthetics. Like, even in my classroom in 549, everything looks nice. Everything's in a specific place. I'm very, my wife says, like, I'm very OCD about those things. I do have some OCD tendencies. I admit it. I do have some, I obsess about tea and other things. I am a little OCD from time to time. It has its advantages and disadvantages. Good morning, Miss Leon.
Hi guys.
I'm glad you're on camera. We have another guest in the classroom today. So besides Ashwani's here, live and in the flesh. Um, this is Elfie Taylor, who's joining us today. You know what? I want to do this. Like, it would be great if we had like guest hosts and like special guests every day. I think yesterday I introduced you to Arlene McDougall. And Elfie Taylor is also working at USA and helping us and supporting our classes. And it's very likely that she will be learning with you as well while I am out on paternity leave. So, and she's a social studies. And you said, wait, who are the twins? Because we're talking about twins today. We're talking about a very interesting topic. And you said, like, you're the mother of twins. And so you'll see how that relates to what we're talking about today from the question that is appearing right before your eyes. Never did you think perhaps in US government and politics we would be talking about the brain and like psychology and all that stuff, but we're going to talk about all those good things today. So I think you're going to find it very interesting. And then I'm going to give you a lot of time to finish up your assignment that needs to be done and submitted today, because you didn't get much time yesterday, so I'm going to give you some. Let's get started, people. All right, so answer this question. And if there's things in the question that you're unsure about, you can put those into the chat box as well. I'll provide you some more clarity. Good morning, Jaden. Yeah, today's the day for the kid, Hannah, unless the kid has other plans. Because ultimately, she's the one that gets to make the decision about when she wants to come out. Unless the doctors intervene. But we have like a week before that. But yes, today is my wife's due date. Oh God. I have to keep my keys on me at all times. Because I used to keep my car keys at home. We got a car, like we borrowed our parents' car like specifically because of this and the pandemic. And so I have to keep my car keys on me at all times. There would be no traffic at 3 a.m. I would be okay with that. Do you have a USA email account?
Pardon?
Do you have a USA email account? Like our school's email account? So you should email Harlington or text Harlington. I would take out your cell phone and text Harlington and tell him that you need a USA email account. Because you can't get onto like Google Classroom and stuff like that. So all these things should be pretty straightforward. Foreign policy might be something, you might not be familiar with that term. Do you guys know what foreign policy means? Or like perhaps you can give an example of foreign policy? Thank you for letting me know, Ashwani, so I can clarify. Um, Foreign policy is like how one country deals with another country. So as like people, you get to choose like how do I want to act towards other people. You know, like some people are shy, some people like isolate themselves, you know, they're wallflowers. Some people are like very in your face. And so countries are the same. And so it depends with how you want to deal with other countries. Like the Obama administration, they want to create treaties with other countries, even with countries that were perceived as our enemies. So they sign like deals with them. Like we don't want Iran to make nuclear weapons. So like we're going to give you a lot of money and be nice to you and then expect you not to make nuclear weapons. And then there's the Trump administration that tears that treaty up, throws it in the air and be like, we are going to assassinate your military leaders. That came up in the debates. And we aren't going to trade with you and we're going to get the rest of the world not to buy anything from you. And we're going to punish you to get you to do what we want. We're not going to be nice to you. We're going to punish you. So that's a completely different approach, right? So that's foreign policy. Sometimes, like the Trump administration, America First, they're more isolationist. Other countries, like they're more collaborative. Does that help, Ashwani? What foreign policy are you more in favor of? Like isolationism, you think? Or like, you know, show the fists or like extend the hand for a handshake? Peaceful? So that's a different foreign policy approach than perhaps our current presidential administration is taking. Extend the hand. There's the handshake and then there's the fist. Trump is like the fist and Obama was like more the handshake. Just like good cop, bad cop, or like strict teachers and nice teachers. Like I'm more of the nice teacher. I want you to do what I'm asking you to do because I'm being nice to you. And then there's some teachers that are like, I am going to punish you if you don't do what I ask you to do. And that's more of like, you know, the bad cop. You're going to be afraid of them and you're going to do what they ask because you're afraid. It has a lot to do with personality. And it has a lot to do with approach. And maybe it has something to do with your brain. And we'll get to that. So did we come up with an answer to this question? I'm sorry, I'm distracting all of y'all. I'll give you one more minute. So you're going to need a USA email address to do this, not like your own personal one. So that's why you have to first from Harlington to get a USA email address, and then you'll get put on the staff email and you'll get all the emails and stuff, which is the plan. Ashwani, what do you think the answer is? Well, let's look at the choices together. All right, so let's look at A. A says the general environment is the greatest influence in the acquisition of political knowledge. So let's find here, the first bar chart has to do with political knowledge and asking you about environment. That's the black one. Is this the greatest influence? So it's the gray. What's the gray connected to? Genetics. Who knew that your DNA will determine how much you know about politics? So that's false. Let's do the second one. General environment accounts for 20% of the influence on political party identification in twins. So political party identification, where's that bar? Which bar are we looking at? The bottom, right? And it's talking about general environment. So that's the black. Is this about 20%? From like, it goes from like 100 to 80. So like what percent is this? This little box. Do you see what I'm looking at? Right? So like 100 minus 80, that's 20. So is that true or false? True. Yeah. So it's B. You eliminated the first one, you got the second one. So for what political party you identify with, right? Like on our registration form, we saw you register for political party when you register to vote. What factor has the most in determining what political party, what box you choose? Genetics, family, or general environment? Which one's the biggest? Do you have your yeah.
Mister, can you repeat it?
Last bar. Which one's the biggest? The one that's right, this one over here
Family.
in the middle. Family, right? So do you guys have the same political beliefs as your family? Do you know what political party, if any, your family has selected when they registered to vote? It's very rare. I can't think of a single person who's like of my friends who have like a different political party affiliation than their parents. What about you, Miss Leon? Do they vote? Do they belong to a political party though? You think they're going to vote for Trump? Okay. How does that? What about compared to you? Do you vote the same way, or are your beliefs different than your parents? Yeah. My father-in-law voted for Trump. He says he's not going to vote for Trump this time, but he voted for Trump, and he typically voted Republican. And so my wife is not she doesn't vote Republican. Um, her other children don't, so maybe like that's different. But for most people I know, their political party is the same as their family's political party. So that's something interesting to think about and consider. And we're going to delve a little bit deeper into that. Because, like, look at this. There's three things up here: political knowledge, voter participation, attitudes towards race, that your genetics, your DNA, has like the majority to decide that stuff. How you feel about race, that's like ingrained, it's hardwired into you based upon your DNA. Oh, and listen to this. So, how do you think like people study this stuff? How do we learn this? If you look at the answers to these questions, you'll get an idea, there's a clue of how we study this stuff. Oh, and I was also telling you about Miss Elfie over here, right? She pointed out to it. Who are we studying? Who are we asking these questions to learn this? That's a clue. Look at the screen. Yeah, Jasmine, twins. We learn about this stuff through twins. Specifically, usually identical twins. Why is that? Why are twins so important for understanding this?
Mister, repeat that, please.
Why do we study twins if we want to learn about how politics is influenced by family and genetics? What's so special about twins? They're genetically similar. Identical twins have the same genes. And usually they have the same family, but not always. Not always. Did anybody ever see the movie Three Identical Strangers? That is like probably the craziest movie I've ever seen. Have you ever heard about
Mister,
that?
was that about triplets who got split up?
Yes.
That's
Intentionally,
your
you learn it first. So you learn that there were these triplets that lived in New York, and at birth, they were given up for adoption and they were separated and they were given to three different families. And they were never told that they had identical brothers. They
Yeah,
found
that
out
was
later
crazy.
on. And get this, one twin was given to a rich family, one twin was given to a middle class family, and one twin was given to a poor family on purpose. They did
Wait,
it
on purpose?
because you find out at the end they want to study them. They wanted to see, they had psychologists that came and interviewed them, right? Every year or so to see, like, based upon the fact that their genetics were the same, were they going to be the same people if they were raised by different families?
I think it's still messed up.
It's so messed up. It's like illegal now, but at the time, I don't think it was illegal. And so that when they saw each other, when they finally met, they realized, oh my God, there's so many similarities between the two of them, but not 100% similarities. And so to learn this stuff, you want to do the same thing. You want to study twins, identical twins, and perhaps identical twins who had different families. But there's other ways that you can study this stuff as well. Hopefully, I piqued your interest a little bit. So, how's everyone feeling today? What's your mood? Now that we learned a little bit, are you excited? Now that we learned a little bit, are you sleepy tired? I'm feeling festive. And it's not because of Columbus Day. I don't know. Festive? I want to celebrate. It's Friday, the best day of the week. Emails are a reason to be stressed. Cozy. I love that word. How do you say cozy in Norwegian? It's probably awesome. Kushle. Kushli. Kushli. Mr. Barthold's teaching me the Norwegian. Relaxed. Relaxed is good. Yeah, Mr. B's here. Want to see him? Hi, Mr. B. He's all masked up. Yeah. Okay. Maybe he'll chime in when he sees what we're talking about. We're not talking about teeth, we're talking about the brain. But teeth are near the brain, right? They're neighbors. Teeth and the brain are neighbors. Miss Dunkley's not here. Not in this room. All right, this is what we're going to do today, people. We're going to do one more multiple choice question. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more. We're going to learn together. Then I'm going to give you some time to work on your ballot. Oh, cool. Check out this image. AOC is selling this picture. And she did a whole poster series about the Green New Deal. Have any of you ever been here? I live right by this place. I might be there this weekend. Flushing Meadows Park. It was actually built with money from the New Deal, right? During FDR's administration to get us out of the Great Depression. And so AOC wants us to think about the Green New Deal. Let's spend cash just like FDR did, right, to boost the economy, right, put people back to work, and also make our environment a cleaner place. Does anybody see what is new in this picture? So this is already there. That's the Unisphere. You can go to Flushing Meadows Park right now and see that. What's new? The train. See this? And there's lots of talk about like building a train to LaGuardia Airport, similar to that we have to JFK, the air train. So that's what AOC wants. New, fast, environmentally friendly public transportation. Should I do the whoosh again one more time? I'm always so playful fourth period. I don't know why. But I like this class. All right. So we talked about the Green New Deal. You heard about it in the debates. And so you can buy this poster. You can go to our website and buy this poster. I like it. I think it's cool. It's in the same style as like those old posters from like the 1920s and stuff. But installing fly swatters. That's cool. Trump used to sell big plastic straws with his name on it because he was anti-paper straw, right? To be like, I don't care about the environment. I'm using a plastic straw. People, they work. And he has a point there. And he also sells Sharpie markers with his name on it because he signs every bill in a Sharpie marker. So his name is as big as possible. All right, people. Do you know what this is? What are we looking at? Is this a tooth? No. Is it near a tooth? Yes. We're looking at brains. We're looking at brains. Do you know anything about the amygdala and the insula? I know a little bit. This is not my area of expertise, but I find it very interesting. Does anybody know anything about these two parts of the brain? You're health sciences students. You might know some stuff. Share if you know. What are these two parts of the brain? What do they do? You know anything? It does look like a walnut. Anything about the amygdala? Going once, going twice? Each part of your brain like kind of connects to an emotion in some respects. Yeah. Interesting. Do you know what emotion is most associated with the amygdala? Fear. This is your fear sensor. And so, guess what? Scientists have studied the brains of Democrats and Republicans, and they've looked for differences, and they've noticed two, and one is in the amygdala. Who has a bigger amygdala? And what does that mean? Again, this is correlation. It's not absolute, but on average, who had bigger amygdalas? Mr. Bartholz, who do you think has bigger amygdalas, Republicans or Democrats? Fear.
Republicans.
Is he right? Hannah, is he right?
That was a trick question.
It's real. No, this is not a trick question. Republicans have bigger amygdalas. And you know what? Based upon my understanding, let's use my father-in-law. Like my father-in-law, if you talk to him, he is pretty pessimistic about America. He thinks that everyone's going to be unemployed. The country's going down the toilet. He's scared to death about that. He thinks that Iran is going to bomb Israel. Iran is going to, I mean, rightfully so, because he used to live in Iran and he experienced, the wrath of their government. He thinks Iran is going to bomb America and that we should bomb Iran and we should bomb North Korea. You probably heard people talk like that. They're very fearful people, right? Usually that comes from a place of fear. And so when we went back to like being ready with the fist, like Trump being ready with the fist, usually that's because you have a high sense of fear, and perhaps that's because you have a bigger amygdala. Who knew? Should we give Trump a bye? Maybe it's just his brain, right? Should we be more sympathetic
Wait, say it again. Say it
his
again.
brain might be different?
His brain is different. He's different. He's different. He's a
Well,
different breed.
we should take a look at his brain right over here. That would be interesting. Could we get a hold of Trump's MRI and we can look at his brain and see how big his
His
amygdala
brain
is?
look mad.
We would have to find the brain. True. Good one, Mr. B. Okay. Let's talk about something else. So there's another part of your brain. That's the insula. Which political party has the bigger insula? And do you have any idea of what you think, what emotion that part of the brain is associated with? Democrats have a bigger insula. You want to take a guess? What emotion? I'm putting it in the chat box. I'm going to share it with you, but first, it's fun to make a prediction. You want to take a guess, Shalani? What did you say? Oh, so what did you find? Yeah, you shared a lot. I'm gonna like, so that's all accurate. If you wanted to sum it up into like one thing, most research say empathy. Could you feel the pain of other people? Do you feel connected to other people? It's interesting because my wife says I lack empathy. And in some ways I kind of do. I'm okay with people struggling and falling on their face for a reason, like if they're going to learn a lesson from it. Thank you, Ashwani. So, for instance, like maybe that's why Democrats are more likely to extend the hand because they feel more connected and to others instead of perhaps fearful. So who knows? Maybe all this stuff is just hardwired into us. You know, in some respects, this makes me more sympathetic and understanding to people that have different political beliefs than me. Yeah. Firstborn are more conservative. Interesting. Does that have to do with at the same age? Because like more people become conservative over time. Yeah, but like at the same age, like the second born at 20 and the firstborn at 20, if you ask them at the same age, I wonder if that factors into it. Because people, you might have heard this expression, if you are young and you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart. That's the empathy. And they say if you are old and you're conservative and you're not conservative, if you're old and you're a liberal, you don't have a brain because people typically become more conservative over time. Yeah. I wish my class could have. That's interesting. That's interesting. I can't maybe Ashwani wants to convey some of that to you. You want to summarize that and put it into the chat box? That's deep. All right. How are we doing with time? How much time do we have? Okay, I want to give you 18 minutes to finish up your project because I value your time and I don't want you to do homework this weekend. I want you to do enjoyment and learning of your own accord on this weekend. So, you all know this assignment by now. It's due today. So you're studying your ballot. Oh, someone brought up a really good point last class, and so I want to point this out to you because this is interesting. So on your ballot, you might notice this one person, right? Who were they running against? Who are they running against? Not a project, it's just a little assignment. It's shared on Google Classroom. They're running against no one. No one is running against this Democrat. There's no Republican contender. So they have no running mate. So as a result, they will automatically win the election. But based upon the law, their name will appear, and people still get to fill out if they're voting for them or not. But as long as they get one person to vote for them, they win the election because that's called they're running unopposed. So in this situation, again, for research, at least two of the candidates, you'll only put down one person. And you can put that they're running unopposed. So Miguel, again, if you had questions on this, go to the classwork. So it's right here. Analyze in November.
Yes, sir.
Third ballot. Yes. Who had a question? Was it Linnell? You're looking up your ballot and you're filling out the organizer in this form. And you're going to submit that by the end of the day. Sound good? We're good? Any clarifying questions? So every other, this person's running unopposed as well. This judge for King County Court. So you're putting in your address, looking up what's on your ballot, and you're just filling out this information. So this is an example. What governmental office are people voting on? So president. Who's the incumbent? That's the person that's running for re-election. Trump, he's a Republican. Level of government, president is in charge of the whole nation. What branch? The executive branch. The president is the executive of the whole nation. And the power is the president as head executive enforces the law. And then these are two other people that are voting for president. So you're doing the same thing for the other offices. So we just did president, and then there's US House of Representatives, New York State Senate, but it will be different depending on what district you live in. And you're just going to outline that here and submit it through Google Classroom. The new Google Classroom. Did we figure everything out, Ms. Leung, about with the Padlets and stuff? Okay. Thank you for your help with that. Miguel, you good? Not every single candidate. Not every single candidate. Every single office. So president, US House of Representatives. So over here, right, you would put US House of Representatives. Who is the incumbent? This person. It says incumbent. That means they already have that position in government and they're running for re-election. And that's a Democrat. Okay, but in the last column, you're researching two of the people that are running. So you could research her, and you can research him, Brian Kelly, perhaps, who's the Republican running against her. So for this last column, again, it's just two. And then these aren't about the people, it's about the office. Checking my phone, making sure my wife isn't in labor. It's just Mr. Ascona. And it has nothing to do with my wife. I don't know what he's asking me. So I don't know how to answer this question. I will ask him to clarify. Does anybody know what Insight is? Do we have a program called Insight? I don't know. All right, Miguel, I'm glad you're good with that. What else? What else? Anything else? I think I'm gonna post this video up. I have like a YouTube channel, because I like to record some of like the mini lessons that I think are most useful. So maybe I'll share that as well. Okay.